All right, welcome. Today, we're diving into what is, honestly, a teacher's most powerful tool for navigating the classroom, assessment. And no, we're not just talking about grades. We're talking about assessment as the compass for data-driven instruction, the thing that gives every single lesson real direction and purpose.
You know that feeling, right? As an educator, you pour everything into planning and teaching a lesson. But then you're left wondering, did they really get it? It can feel like you're just teaching in the dark. So how do we flip the switch? How do we turn on the lights and actually see the path forward?
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with this idea of the instructional compass. Then we'll get into why assessment really matters, check out the different tools in the assessment toolkit, figure out the best timing for them, and wrap up by talking about how to actually put all that data to work.
All right, first up, the instructional compass. This is all about finding your direction with data.
So you hear this term all the time, right? Data-driven instruction, or DDI. What does it actually mean? Well, it's not just a buzzword. Think of it as a constant loop, a cycle that never really stops. You assess to see where your students are. You analyze that info to figure out what it's telling you. You take action based on that analysis, and then you adjust your teaching. It's this powerful feedback loop that just keeps making things better.
And this quote from Paul Bambrick-Santoyo's book, Driven by Data 2.0, just nails it. Assessment is the compass that guides our instruction. I mean, that's perfect, right? It's not the destination itself, it's the tool that tells you which way to go. It lets you know if you're on track, if you need to take a detour, or if you've actually reached your learning goal.
Okay, but here's the thing. Using this compass effectively isn't a one-person job. Nope. It's a critical skill for literally everyone in a school, from the teacher on the front lines to the leader who's steering the whole ship.
So let's break that down. It really boils down to two key roles that have to work together. You've got teachers. They're the navigators on the ship. They're using that assessment data every single day to make those in-the-moment calls, diagnosing what a student needs or tweaking a lesson right on the spot. Then you have the leaders. They're the captains. Their job is to set the overall course. They build a school-wide culture that actually values this data and make sure their entire crew has the right training and tools to pull it off. So, if assessment is our compass, what's actually inside it? Well, it's not just one single thing. It's more like a whole toolkit with different instruments for different jobs. Let's open it up and see what we've got.
Okay, check this out. First up, you've got your diagnostic tools. Think of a pre-unit quiz. Its whole purpose is just to see what students already know before you even start. Then, you've got your formative assessments. These are your quick, real-time checks, like an exit ticket or just careful observation. You're constantly monitoring learning as it happens. Next are the interim assessments, like a quarterly benchmark. These help you measure progress over a longer stretch of time. And finally, the big one, summative assessments. This is your final exam or standardized test where you evaluate if they've truly mastered the material. See, each tool has a super specific job.
All right, so having the right tools is great, but knowing when to pull them out of the toolkit is everything. The timing is what turns a bunch of random assessments into a real, coherent map for the instructional journey.
And this timeline really puts it all together. You start before you teach, using a diagnostic to figure out your starting point. Then, during instruction, you're constantly using those formative checks to make small but crucial course corrections along the way. Periodically, maybe every quarter, you pull out an interim assessment to zoom out and see, hey, how far have we come? And finally, after instruction, the summative assessment isn't just about a final grade. It's about reviewing the entire journey to help you plan the next one even better.
So, we've got our compass, we've used our toolkit, we've gathered all this amazing information. But that brings us to what is, without a doubt, the most important part. Because the data itself, it doesn't do anything. Its real power comes from what we do with it.
And this quote really is the mic drop. The power of data lies not in the numbers themselves, but in what we do with them to improve student outcomes. That's the whole ballgame right there. Finding out that 70% of your class bombed question 5, that doesn't fix anything. The power is in the next step, asking why they missed it, and then figuring out a new way to reteach that concept tomorrow. The numbers, they're just the starting line.
And that really leaves us with one last thing to think about, for you. Now that you've got the compass, the toolkit, and the map, how will it change your course? What's just one small way you can use assessment data tomorrow to adjust your direction and better guide your students on their own learning journey?